This week is Parshat Noach. So, in the beginning of the Parsha, we have Hamas. But we're not going to discuss this week. Vayomer Elokim leNoach, and God says to Noach, Ketz kol basar ba. I'm going to put an end to every living thing. Why? Ki mal'a haaretz chamas mipneim, because the land is full of chamas, of robbery, of evil. V'ineni mashchitam et haaretz, and therefore I'm going to destroy the entire land. So what should Noach do? עשה לך תיבת עצי גופר, make for you an ark, קינים תעשה את התיבה, וחפרת אותו מבית מחוץ בכופר. He told him how to make it rooms, and you should put tar on it. ואני אינני מביא את המבול מים על הארץ, אשחט כל בשר. I'm going to bring a flood to destroy everybody. Anything אשר בו רוח חיים, anything with a living that is alive, מתחת השמיים, כל אשר יבוא בגזבה, everything on the land will die. והקימותי את בריתי איתך, and I'm going to make a covenant with you, ובאת אל התיבה, you're going to come to the ark, אתה ובניך ואשתך ונשי בניך איתך, you and your wife, your 3 sons and their wives, 8 people overall. ומכל החי, מכל בשר 2 מכל תביא לתיבה, and from every living animal you should bring 2 to the ark, להחיות איתך, זכר ונקבה יהיו, a male and a female, so they can continue afterwards. ואתה קח לך מכל מאכל אשר יאכל, you should take food, ואספת אליך, you should collect to you, והיה לך ולהם לאכלה, so everybody can eat. ויעש נוח ככל אשר ציווה אותו אלוקים כן עשה. Noach did everything that God commanded him. Okay. Source number 2. וידבר השם אל משה. This is how God treated Noach. Let's see what let's go jump to Moshe. Yeah? So when God talked to Noach, and God said to Noach, I'm going to destroy everybody, this is the story, straight up story. God talked to Noach, told him, I'm going to destroy everybody, and he tells us the story. Let's see by Moshe. Similar story, by the way, we have. וידבר השם אל משה, and God talked to Moshe, רד כי שיחת עמך. It says, go down from the mountain because your nation sinned. אשר העלית מארץ ישראל, the nation that you brought from the land of Egypt. I never told you to take the other nations, but other nations, the Egyptians that wanted to convert to Judaism, you took them with you. You didn't ask me. It was your nation. It wasn't my idea, it was your idea. Okay? סרו מהר מן הדרך אשר ציוויתם. They completely moved, turned away from the path that I commanded them. עשו להם עגל מסכה, they made an idol, וישתחוו לו, they bowed down to it, ויזבחו לו, and they sacrificed to it, ויאמרו אלה אלוקיך ישראל, and they said, this is your God Israel, אשר העלוך מארץ מצרים, that brought you up from the land of Egypt. ויאמר השם אל משה, and God said to Moshe, ראיתי את העם הזה, והנה עם קשה עורף הוא. He says, I saw this nation, and they're stubborn people. ואתה הניחה לי, and this is again God talking to Moshe. He says, let me be, ויחר אפי בהם, I'm going to make my anger in them, ואכלם ואעשותך לגוי גדול. I'm going to destroy them, I'm going to make you into a great nation. And then we have on page 4, in the middle of the page, Moses' response. If you can see. ויחל משה את פני השם אלוקיו, and Moshe turned to God, ויאמר למה השם יכרע אפך בעמך אשר הוצאת מארץ מצרים בכוח גדול בחזקה? It says, why are you getting angry at your nation that you took out of Egypt with all these miracles? And then Moshe says something. Here is different than Noach. What does he say? Zechor, it says, remember, not this nation. It says, don't remember them. They don't deserve it. Zechor, remember, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Israel. Remember the forefathers. Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Avadecha, your servants. Asher nishbata lehem bach. He says, you took an oath to them. You promised them something. You promised them you're going to make them a great nation. ותדבר עליהם, הרבה את זרעכם, ככוכבי השמיים, וכל הארץ הזאת אשר אמרתי, יתן זרעכם לכל העולם. It says, and you promised them that you're going to make them into a great nation. It says, remember them. וישיב משה אל השם, And Moshe said to God, Vayomer ana chata am hazeh chata gdola. It says, I know this nation sinned a great sin. Vayasu lahem elokei zahav. They made for them an idol of gold. Ve'ata im tisach chatatam. Says, so if you're going to forgive them, I'm with you. Ve'im ayin. And God, you should know, if you don't forgive them, machenina misifrecha asher katavta. Me and you, we don't know each other. Erase me. I don't want anything to do with you. Yeah? Pretty much. He says, erase me from the book that you wrote. I don't want nothing to do with this. Okay. So over here, two stories, a little bit similar. The Zohar comes and brings this story together. These two stories. Let's see what the Zohar says. The Zohar says, we're on page 4 in the bottom, Bo ur'eh ma ben Moshe l'sh'ar bnei ha'olam. It says, look at the difference between Moshe and the other people of the world. B'sha'a she'amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe, at the time that God said to Moshe, ve'ata anicha li, it says, let me be so I can destroy them. Ve'oseh otcha legoy gadol, it says, and don't worry about Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. You don't have to worry. The promise I made to Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, I'm going to keep. How I'm going to keep? Through you. You're going to continue having children, and I'm going to make everything from you, but I'm going to kill them. Miyad amar Moshe, immediately Moshe said, V'chi e'ezov dinam shel Yisrael bishvili. It says, look, I am going to, should I leave the Jews to their fate for my sake? It says, I am going to become a great nation on their back. It's not happening. It says, God is going to wants to make me a great nation on their back. No. This is not going to happen. Ka'et yomru kol otam bnei ha'olam. It says, now everybody in the world is going to say, she'ani harakti Israel kmo she'asa Noach. That I killed the Jewish people. Listen to the words the Zohar says. This is what we're going to have a problem with. Just like Noach killed the whole world. In other words, the Zohar says that you know who killed the entire world? No. It was Noach. Noach, the Ish Tzaddik that we're talking about, he killed the entire world. That's what the Zohar says. By the way, how do we call the flood? Noach's flood. Very good. Mei Noach, the water of Noach. We call the destruction on his name. He is responsible for the death of the entire universe. Everybody, he killed. So as Moshe says, I don't want to be known as Noach. I'm not willing. No, not for me. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah. שכיוון שאמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, since God told him שיציל אותו בטבע, it says, once God told Noach, don't worry, I'm going to continue it with you. What did Noach say? שכתוב, הצוויתן, ואני אינני מביא את המבול מים, I'm going to bring a flood of water, וכתוב, מחיתי את כל היקום, אשר עושים רבנה, I'm going to destroy everybody else, ואני אינני מקים את בריתי, I'm going to make the covenant with you, ובאת אל התיבה, I'm going to save you, you're going to come to the ark. כיוון שאמר לו שינצל הוא בניו, once Noach was understood that he's going to be saved, and his sons are going to be saved, לא ביקש רחמים על העולם, he didn't go and fight for the world, he didn't go to tell, מחנינה, forget me, I'm not doing anything, ונובדו, and that's why everybody got destroyed. ומשום כך נקראים מי המבול על שמו, this is why the water of the flood is called on his name, כמו שנאמר, כי מי נוח זאת לי אשר נשבעתי בעבור מי נוח. The entire flood, the entire destruction of the world is called upon his name, the water of Noach. אמר משה, so the Zohar explains. Moshe says, כעת יאמרו בני העולם, now the nations of the world are going to say, שאני הרגתי אותם, I killed them. משום שאמר לי, ועשה אותך לגוי גדול. When God told me, I'm going to make you into a great nation. כעת טוב לי שאמות ולא ישמדו ישראל. So it's better for me that I die and I'm going to save the entire Jewish people. God won't have a choice. If I die, that's it. He's stuck. He'll have to. What is he going to do? מיד, so immediately, ויחל משה פני השם אלוקיו. So immediately God, Moshe turned to God, ביקש רחמים עליהם. He asked mercy on the Jewish people, ועורר רחמים על העולם, and God forgave them, as we know. ולא עזב את הקדוש ברוך הוא עד שמסר עצמו למיתה, and he did not leave God until he says, as he was willing to die. שכתוב, ואתה אם תישא חטאתם, so it says, if you're going to forgive them good, ואם אין, מחל הנה מספרך אשר כתבת, and if not, I don't want to be associated with you, I don't want to be even mentioned in your book. והקדוש ברוך הוא מחל להם, and God, we so forgave them. שכתוב, וינחם השם על הרע, God changed his mind on the bad that he wanted to do. ונוח לא עשה כן, אלא רצה לנצל. Noach didn't do what Moshe did. He wanted to save his own hide. ועזב את כל העולם, משום שמסר עצמו על ישראל. והכל נאמר על משה, משום שמסר עצמו על ישראל. This was done for Moshe because he gave his life for the Jewish people. Okay. Now, after the Zohar comes, the Gemara is going to discuss this whole thing, and we're going to see we're going to have some problems over here. Some things over here don't work out. Let's see. What doesn't work out? We're in the middle of page 5. Amar Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, Af al gav shetzaddik היה Noach. It says, the Torah calls Noach a righteous person. So Rabbi Yehuda says, even though the Torah calls him a righteous person, אינו כדאי שהקדוש ברוך הוא יגן על העולם בשבילו. It says, he wasn't so righteous that he deserved to save the entire world because of him. He wasn't that righteous. It's true he was righteous in his generations, but it wasn't righteous enough to be fit to save the entire world for. Let's continue. Bo re'eh, it says, how do I know this? How do I know this? Because it says, look at how the way Moshe talks to God. What does Moshe say to God? Moshe לא תלה הדבר בזכותו. Moshe didn't come to say to God, God, save the world because of me. I'm going to behave the right way. Save the world because of me. Moshe didn't say that. What did he say? אלא בזכות האבות הראשונים. It says, he knew the only way that God is going to save the world is why? Because Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So he knew there's no other reason for God to save the world. So he says, Moshe says to God, God, but you promised Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. In other words, he had something to rely on. אבל לנוח, it says, but he says, what do you want from Noach? Noach didn't have. Noach came before them. He didn't have Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov to tell God, hey God, remember, do it for their merit. Yes.
Noach didn't have the connection with the people that Moshe did. I mean, it was not the same relationship, right?
It's true that it wasn't the same shape, but Moshe didn't use the connection. Moshe used the relationship that Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov had with him in previous relationships, in previous generation. But it says Noach couldn't. He didn't have anybody to rely on. אבל לנוח לא היה לו במה שיתלה בזכות כמו משה. Not enough. Avraham and Yitzchak and Yaakov are enough. They were enough. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Rabbi Yehuda is saying, so yeah, but Noach could save them. And the idol worshippers were nice guys? What? And the idol worshippers were nice guys? Just like the idol worshippers Moshe saved, he should have saved the world. But Rabbi Yehuda says he couldn't because he didn't have Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. That's what Rabbi Yehuda said.
My problem, he didn't do it.
He knew it's not going to work. He knew it's not going to work. That's according to Rabbi Yehuda. Yeah, according to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yitzchak disagrees with him. We're going to see. Rabbi Yitzchak disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, ve'im kol zeh, he's going to say what you said, Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak says, very nice, everything is nice, it's a nice drasha, but כיוון שאמר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא והקימותי את בריתי איתך, but since he knew that God told him, we're going to make a covenant after the fact, היה לו לבקש עליהם רחמים, he should have tried. At least try, ask for mercy. He didn't even ask. He didn't even try. And it says, and you know what? It could have helped. And I'll tell you why it could have helped. Because when Noach went out of the ark, he brought a sacrifice. And it says that God smelled the sacrifice and he had nachas. And he was happy. So he should have brought that sacrifice before.
Whoa.
Why is bringing it after? This is what Rabbi Yitzchak says. והקורבן שהקריב אחר כך, it says the sacrifice that he brought afterwards, שהקריב אותו מקודם לזה, he should have brought it before. אולי ישכח הכעס מהעולם, at least try? You didn't even try, he says to Noach. He says, Rabbi Yehuda, why are you saying good about him? Okay. Amar Rabbi Yehuda says to Rabbi Yitzchak, I don't agree with you. Rabbi Yehuda is still going to protect Noach. So Rabbi Yehuda says to Rabbi Yitzchak, מה היה לו לעשות? He says, think, what could he have done? Let's say he would have brought the sacrifice beforehand. Let's think what would have happened. שהרי רשעי העולם היו מכעיסים לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא והוא יקריב קורבן. It says, everything that everybody is doing makes God angry. Bringing the korban is just going to make God even angrier. It says, for them, God would say, for these guys, like, rape and kill and maim and do all the Hamas does, you want me to save them? It says, what do you think? God is going to be happy? God is going to be even more angry than before. It says it wouldn't have worked. Yeah, that's what Rabbi Yehuda says to Rabbi Yitzchak. It's all good. It's a nice idea, but it's not good enough. It says, you don't save Hamas. In other words, Rabbi Yehuda says, what are you saving? You're saving people who are going to rape young children? You're saving people who are going to kill young babies? That's what you're saving? אלה ודאי נוח פוחד על עצמו היה. So for sure, Noach, the reason was, he was afraid for himself. בשביל שלא יפגוש בו המוות בתוך רשעי העולם. He didn't want to associate it with all the evil people in the world. שהיה רואה מעשיהם הרעים בכל יום. He used to see how they were evil he used to see all the other evil people every day, ואיך מכעיסים לפני הקדוש ברוך הוא כל היום. And that the entire day they go against God. He says he knew God is not going to listen. There was no point in it. Let's continue. The Rebbe's father had a book when he was in exile. His wife brought him a Zohar. And in the Zohar that his wife brought him, he used to write notes on the side. Now, the notes were all Kabbalah notes. Nobody understands them. But the Rebbe, throughout the years, used to take a note at a time, and he used to explain it. So the Rebbe is going to bring now a section from his father on the Zohar, and he's going to explain it. We're going to see what is going on over here with all this story. So the Rebbe says, "Umeva'er, Atoni Avi Muri veRabbi." It says, my father explains, Rabbi Yehuda me'afech beschut de Noach. It says, look at what's happening. Rabbi Yehuda says Noach was a good guy. After all, Noach was a good guy. ורבי יצחק בהפך, שמהפך בחובתו. And Rabbi Yitzchak is saying, no, he was not a good guy. He was a bad guy. That's the two things. Rabbi Yehuda is looking at Noach, the guy is good. And Rabbi Yitzchak is looking at, no, he's not good. Why? So the Rebbe's father explains, you should know why it's that. Why one says the positive, one says the negative. והוא כי כל אחד מהם מדבר כפי בחינתו ומדרגתו. It says because Rabbi Yehuda is chesed and Rabbi Yitzchak is gvura. Rabbi Yehuda is made more kindness and Rabbi Yitzchak is made more gvura. Or in our language, Beit Shammai and Beit Hillel. One is like Beit Shammai and the other one is like Beit Hillel, let's call it. Rabbi Yehuda הוא בחינת chesed. Rabbi Yehuda, when he sees a situation, he looks at it as chesed. ורבי יצחק הוא בחינת גבורה. And Rabbi Yitzchak is gvura. Let's take an example. If now there's going to be lightning outside and starts to rain good, one person is going to say, oh, such a terrible thing, I'm afraid of lightning, it makes forest fires, it gives me a headache, I hate the rain, I have to go in the rain now. And the other guy is looking at the same lightning and the same thing, says, you know what, good, everything is going to grow now, everything is good. One is right, one is wrong. No, they're both right. So this is the same over here. Rabbi Yehuda is a kind person, that's what he sees. Rabbi Yitzchak is a dvura person, that's what he sees. ולכן רבי יהודה מהפך בזכותו כפי מידתו מידת החסד. Therefore רבי יהודה sees kindness over there, ורבי יצחק sees the opposite. He says, one says Noach was a good guy, one says no, Noach should have tried harder. Okay. Source number 4, and we see these two kind of opinions in many things, even in Jewish law. והנה אף בהלכות איסור והיתר הנגיעות לעולמנו, even when it comes to Jewish law, ראינו מחלוקת תנאים ואמוראים מן הקצה לקצה ממש. We see that the sages, one says yes, one says no, one says this is pure, one says this is unpure. The problem is, ואלו דברי אלוקים חיים. They're both correct 100%. לשון רבים. על שם מקור החיים לשמות ישראל, יחל דור בדרך כלל, לשלושה קווים, ימין ושמאל ואמצע, שם חסד וגבורה וכולו, ונשמות ששלושתם דת החסד. So it says souls that are from, there are some souls who have more leniency in them, let's call them. These souls always are going to see the good of the things. And souls who have more might in them, they're going to see that the guy wasn't good, he should have done something else. And it says that and both aspects are true. Or you know what? The best thing today, when you educate kids, who's the most important rule? The way the father educates them, with severity, or with the way the mothers educate them, with kindness and, love? You need both. So the same thing over here, you need both. It says it's not one is right. It's not the father is right and the mother is wrong, or the mother is right and the father is wrong. It's both correct. Yeah. Okay. So let's continue. Page 7. אך יש להבין הוראת התורה. After all this, now comes the problem of this whole thing. It says, I don't understand this. Judaism has a rule. What's the rule? הווה דן את כל האדם לכף זכות. It says every person, when you start judging him, you have to judge him favorably. It says Rabbi Yitzchak, he can see both ways. He can see Rabbi Yehuda's way. He can see his way. He should say, you know what? Let me try, at least let me try to say that Noach was a good guy. Why doesn't he even try? Why doesn't Rabbi Yitzchak try even to say, hey, Noach was a good guy? מכוונת כמובן לכל יהודי, אפילו לפי שמידתו מידת הגבורה. Even somebody who's more gvura, has more might in his personality, even he has the responsibility to judge everybody favorably. When you have two choices, either to judge somebody favorably or unfavorably, the first response should be, judge him favorably. Why are you judging him unfavorably? That's not nice. So now the Rebbe asks, now we have a question. כיצד ייתכן שרבי יצחק היה מהפך בכבודו של נוח? I says, I don't understand Rabbi Yitzchak. You have an opportunity to look at a person in a good way, in a bad way. Why do you choose the bad way? Why do you choose the bad way? And by the way, it's not only the question in the Gemara, Rashi himself. If you read Rashi, Rashi himself brings both. He brings both. Why are you saying bad about Noach? Just say the good stuff about the guy. ולא דן אותו לכף זכות, כציווי המשנה. It says you have to go according to the Mishnah. If you can say good things about him, there's no reason to say bad things about him. Why are you mentioning bad things? ויתרה מזו, and he goes further on the Rebbe. And I'll tell you, I'll make my statement even stronger. יש כלל, there's a rule, שאפילו בגנות בהמה טמאה לא דיבר הכתוב. That even when it comes to an impure animal, the Torah doesn't want to say the word impure. אמר רבי יושי בן לוי, it says Rabbi Yoshi ben Levi says, לעולם על יוציא אדם דבר מגונה מפיו. Never say something. In other words, how do we call a cemetery in Hebrew? The house of the living. Because we don't want to say the word death. So we say that, how do we call the hospital in Hebrew? בית רפואה. A house of medicine. A house of people who are getting better. This is what we don't want to say Beit Cholim, the house of the sick people. We want to say Beit Refuah. We want to use the positive language. It says, how do we learn that we always want to use positive language? Because this week's parsha. In this week's parsha, what happens? Because it says, it says Noach brought into the ark from the pure animals and from the animals that are not pure. Instead of saying one word, tmeim, which is impure, the Torah uses like 6 words. And from the animals that are not pure. Because he doesn't want to say the word tameh, which means impure. So it says if you don't want to even call an animal impure, you don't want to use the word tameh, why are you calling Noach tameh? Yeah, this is the way you talk on Noach. והרי הדברים קל בחומר, it says how much more so. אם בנוגע לבהמה משתדלים שלא לכתוב דבר מגונה, if when it comes to animal you make sure not to say something bad, על אחת כמה וכמה בנוגע לנוח, how much more so such a righteous person like Noach. First option, say something good about him. Why are you running and say, this guy is an evil guy?
After all the world came from him.
Exactly. ואם כן, כיצד ייתכן שרבי יצחק מהפך בחובתו דווקא? רבי יצחק doesn't want to agree with Rabbi Yehuda. He says, whatever you're saying is wrong. What I say is correct. He's an evil guy. Not an evil guy. He's not a good guy. He should have done, because of him, the world was destroyed. Let's say. This is what he says. So let's continue. Page 8. ועל דרך זה, so according to this, צריך להבין בפירוש רש"י על הפסוק. The same question comes on Rashi. Rashi on our verse, תמים היה בדורותיו, it says on Noach that he was complete in his generation. There's 2 ways to understand that Noach was a righteous man in his generation. So it says you can understand in his generation is a positive thing, or in his generation is a negative thing. It says how? So the Rashi says like this, יש מרבתנו דורשים אותו לשבח. Rashi says, first of all, you should know that some people say he was a good guy. What do they mean? In his generation. Why do you need to say in his generation? He was a good guy, it's enough. You don't have to put the words in his generation. She says, כל שכן לא היה בדור צדיקים, היה צדיק יותר. If you imagine how nice he was, and he was in a generation of everybody was evil. If he was next to Abraham, he would have even been even more righteous. Right? ויש דורשים אותו לגנאי. And some says, no, this guy is an evil guy. Not an evil guy. He's not so good. Why? לפי דורו היה צדיק. Yeah, when you compare him to Hamas, maybe he's a good guy. But when you compare him to Abraham, he would have been nothing. Yeah? ואילו היה בדורו של אברהם, לא היה נחשב לכלום. Again, Rashi. The question is on Rashi. Rashi, why do you have to bring up the bad stuff? What? Not it's not enough the good stuff? Why you have to bring? Why you have to bring it? If he was compare him to Hamas, he's a good guy. But compare him to Abraham, he's a nobody. Why we have to say that? ולכאורה, so Rashi has the same question. מאחר שישנה אפשרות לדרוש זו לשבח, it says judge everybody favorably. Why is Rashi not judging him favorably? כיצד ייתכן שגדולי ישראל ירצו לפרש זאת לגנאי דווקא? So it's not only in the Gemara that are explaining this way, that are trying to understand Noach in the negative manner. Even Rashi is trying to understand him in a negative manner. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. גם צריך להבין מהו הלימוד וההוראה מהצדק על האדם. And besides that, I say, Rashi, what did you want to teach me? You want to teach me to think that Noach is bad? Why would you want me to think that Noach is not such a good guy? What cost? What did you? If I'm going to think he was a good guy, what did I lose? What did you lose? Rashi says, no, don't dare to think he was a good guy. I want you to think he was a bad guy. Why? Speaking Lashon Hara about Noach? Not nice. That's our question.
That's the big question.
Yeah. Okay. So in order to get some clarity in it, let's start. Page number 9. והביאור בנוגע לזהירות שלא הוציא דבר מגונה מפיו. So we said that the Torah goes out of its way not to say something on a negative. It doesn't say the word tameh, impure. It only uses the word that an animal that wasn't pure. כפי שלמדים מזה שיקם הכתוב 8 אותיות. Over here the Torah adds 8 letters ולא הוציא דבר מגונה מפיו. Not to say the word tameh. ידועה שאלה ששואלים בחדרים ובישיבות. It says, what are you talking about? Every yeshiva, every cheder. Cheder means everybody who's about 5 years old asks his teacher this question. But More, but Rabbi, you know what the question they ask him? הרי מצינו בתורה כמה פעמים שנאמר על לשון טמא. It says, what are you talking about? There's many times in the word impure in the Torah. The word tameh In Parashat Dvarim, I can find you hundreds of times. Yeah. טמא, 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 100 times. מצורע, טמא, טמא, טמא. וכיוצא בזה. ולא רק הבהמה, according to you, every time it should say, the animal that is not pure. It doesn't. It says טמא. It says impure. Yeah? והביאור בזה. So the explanation. כאשר צריכים לומר דין הנוגע למעשה בפועל, the rule is that when it's a law, God wants to tell you a law, this is what you have to do, this is what you don't have to do, יש לדייק ולומר את הדבר באופן ברור ומוחלט. You have to be accurate exactly at what you're saying, כדי שלא יבוא לידי טעות. If you're going to say it is not pure, yeah, it's not pure, but it's not unpure. That's what a guy would say. You know, maybe it's not the most pure, but a little bit pure. It is. No, you have to say immediately, this is evil. You have to call it out. This is tameh. So when it comes to Jewish law, you have to be accurate. You don't play with words. If the animal is impure, you say the animal is impure. You don't try to say it in a fancy language. ולכן אומרים שדבר זה הוא אסור או טומא וכיוצא בזה. By the way, it's very important in education. When you have, not only in education, the police are trained for it. You know? For example, if a child is holding something in his hand, right? And you want to tell him, do not throw it. It's something that can... So if you're going to scream, do not throw, he's going to hear throw. And he's going to what? To throw it. So you have to put it, or something like this. You have to talk in the positive. That's right. You have to be accurate at what you say. You cannot play games because it's important also by the police when they give instructions. They have to think about the instruction because sometimes the guy that only hears half the sentence. So you don't say in the army they know. Don't say don't do something, because if you don't say don't do something, whatever you say they might not hear the don't. Yeah, so you tell them what to do. Don't say don't do. Yeah? But when it comes to a law, you have to be precise. You have to say exactly what the thing is. If it's impure, you have to say impure. Don't start to talk. This is not... No. Say this is tameh. But over here in our story, there's no law. It just tells us a story. That Noach, some animals came into the ark. That's all it tells us. מה שאין כן כאשר מילות אותו סיפור וכיוצא בזה, this is a story שאינו בנוגע למעשה בפועל. This has got nothing to do with a law that you learn. אזי צריכים לדבר בלשון נקייה. So over here you're not losing anything by speaking in a nice language. להיזהר שלא יוצאים דבר כזה. So you don't say טמא, because it's not necessary over here. So all the places it says טמא, it's Jewish law. When it's not Jewish law, it will not use the word טמא, it will use this kind of wording. והדרך זה מובן בנוגע לענייננו. Now we're going to go back to our topic over here, נוח. כאשר ישנו עניין בלתי רצוי, חובה או גנאי, when we have something which is not nice, whether it is an obligation, whether it is something bad to say about somebody, בהנהגתו של נוח, in the behavior of נוח, אי אפשר להעלים זאת. You cannot say, Rab, throw it under the carpet. There's a reason God put this story in the Torah. Rabbi Yitzchak, ולדבר רק על השייך. It says, it is impossible that God only wants you to say good things about נוח. מאחר שזהו עניין שנוגע למעשה בפועל. Because over here it's something that has to do with behavior. What? להזהיר שלא להתנהג כן. To warn us, it says there's a reason why God put it in the Torah. This sentence. To warn you, don't behave like Noach. That's why it's there. By the way, you're not only not talking bad about Noach. If you ask Noach, should you put the story that I did something bad in the Torah, what would Noach tell you? Noach says, yeah, I messed up.
Even when he went out, he said to Hashem, what did you do?
I messed up. I messed up. Noach himself would have told you, teach everybody not to do what I did. Learn from my mistakes. ולכן אין ברירה אלא לומר שישנו עניין של גנאי שצריכים להיזהר לא לנקר. This is why Rabbi Yitzchak and Rashi says you have to say the negative on the behavior of Noach. But it's not good enough, we're going to see. והביאור בזה מבואר בזוהר. The explanation on page 10 is brought down in the Zohar. שהחילוק בין משה לנוח הוא, we're going to see the differentiation between Moshe and Noach. שמשה ביקש רחמים עליהם, משה asked for mercy for his generation, ועורר רחמים על העולם, and God forgave them. מה שאין כן נוח לא ביקש רחמים על העולם, Noach did not ask for mercy, and what happened to them? They got destroyed. And that's why God calls the water, the flood, on his name. ואף על פי שמבואר בזוהר שמשה לא תלה זאת בזכותו, and even though the Zohar says that Moshe didn't rely on himself, and he relied on Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and Noach did not have anything to rely on, לכן מה הוא כבר יכול לעשות? And we ask, what can he do? אף על פי כן הוא היה צריך לנסות, nevertheless, he didn't even try. Maybe it's not going to work, maybe it is going to work. And you know what? It's not your job to seek if it's going to work or not going to work. You have to do your part. If it works or not, that's God's way. That's good.
To bring example from Avraham Avinu, he didn't have what to להתעלות, אבל he said,
You don't want to bring Avraham Avinu. I don't want to go into it. It's a different class, but I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
He didn't have a backing Avraham, but he said,
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why you don't want to bring Avraham. Because after 10, what happened with Avraham? After he asked if there's 10 tzaddikim in the
let him destroy.
You see, by Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, no way, that's it. You don't want to bring Avraham.
No, but from a guy that doesn't have a backing and asking.
But it didn't work. You don't want, the Zohar doesn't bring Avraham.
Like Avraham here.
Yeah, but Avraham didn't work, so you see, it's not good.
So let's say that Noach is going to say to Hashem, don't
you say, at least he would have done the ishtadlut.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, you can go. But it's not such a good proof because Avraham did the ishtadlut and it didn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, if you do the ishtadlut, didn't work, I couldn't say anything better, no.
Yeah, but Avraham did. But you can say that Avraham himself didn't do the ishtadlut. That's why you don't want to bring Avraham. Avraham didn't do the ishtadlut.
So who did the ishtadlut?
Moshe. Avraham, after 10, should have continued. Oh. Even if there's no 10, even if there's nobody, you should still save them. Avraham didn't. He says, there's no 10, okay, they deserve it, kill them. Avraham said that. Okay, some other time, it's a different class, we're going to do something. We can see the difference between Avraham at least davened. Noach didn't even daven. It's the progression. Noach did not daven. Avraham davened, but at least 10. Moshe was completely. But don't bring Avraham because it's problematic. Some other time. Okay, page 10. ומאחר שנוח צריך תיקון על זה שהוא לא ביקש רחמים על העולם, Noach needs to fix the fact that he did not ask for mercy on the world, הרי תיקון העניין נעשה על ידי זה שהתורה מספרת ומדגישה שהנהגתו של נוח היא הנהגה שאינה רצויה. Noach is happy that the story is in the Torah so that people can learn not to behave like him. וצריכים להיזהר שלא להתנהג כן. And people need to be careful not to behave like him. כלומר, עצם העניין שמהפכים בחובתו של נוח מהות תיקון על חובתו, ולכן ההפיכה בחובתו של נוח היא בפנימיות אין דבר טוב גם עבור נוח. Noach himself is happy about the fact that the Torah talks negatively about him. It says at least somebody is going to learn from our mistakes. It's not for nothing. At least there's something that's positive is going to come out of it. It says, where do we see this thing? It says, that's hard to say that Noach is happy. Really? Noach is happy? So he says, absolutely. I can prove it to you from another story. Where's the other story? מעין דוגמה לדבר, it says, before we bring it from another story, it says, it's another example for this, כאשר החוטא ומחטיא את הרבים שב בתשובה, let's say somebody who is a sinner and he caused other people to sin, he repents to God, what happens? הנה על ידי התשובה ביכולתו לתקן רק מה שהוא חטא. When he does תשובה, he can fix his sin. ולא מה שהחטיא את הרבים, but he cannot fix the fact that he made other people sin. ואילו התיקון הזה שהחטיא את הרבים הוא, so it says, so how can he fix the fact that everybody else sinned because of him, על ידי שמפרסמים ומכריזים שפלוני החטיא את הרבים. When you say that because of him, everybody made a mistake. The story itself now is an atonement for what he did. כלומר, שתיקון הדבר נעשה על ידי האזהרה שלא יתנו פלוחה שלום. This is how it fixes the thing. ועל פי זה, מובן שרצונו של נוח שיהפכו בחובתו. So Noach himself is arguing with Rabbi Yehuda over here. Noach is going to scream at Rabbi Yehuda, don't say that I'm a positive guy. Say I'm a negative guy, because this way I'm going to fix the sin that I did. ויכתבו בתורה שצריכים להיזהר שלא להתנהג כמותו. It says, you make sure that you write in the Torah never to act like me. כי על ידי זה נפעל תיקון הדבר. This is how I fix my mistake. It says, where do we see this a similar thing? Another place. And this is a fascinating thing if you notice it. והדרך המדובר פעם אודות החילוק שבין משה ואהרון בנוגע להנהגה של אהבת ישראל. We're going to see the difference between Moshe and Aaron, how they both loved the Jewish people in different levels. שאצל משה נאמר, by Moshe it says, ויבכו בני ישראל את משה הזכרים. It says, who, when Moshe passed away, who cried? It says, only the males cried, only the men. Because what did Moshe bring down to the world? He taught learning of Torah. That's what he brought down. The women did not learn Torah. They didn't appreciate Moshe much. Right? He brought the truth. Men love the truth. Right? That's what he brought. But Aaron, it says, what's the difference between Moshe and Aaron? It says when Aaron used to see a father and a husband and a wife had an argument, he used to come over to the husband and he used to tell the husband, Mister, I just talked to your wife in the street and she's really, really upset that you are separated, that you're not together again. The wife wants to kill the husband. He's lying. He's straight out lying. She sees the husband, she wants to stab him right now. But it doesn't matter. He stays there. And then he runs over to the wife and he lies to her. Your husband misses you so much. He's so happy that she's gone. She doesn't, she doesn't get his ear anymore. He's happy. Let me have some peace for a while. He tells her, he misses you so much. He lies all the time, Aaron. He went and lies. Moshe couldn't do such a thing. Moshe was going to lie.
Lie and make peace.
Yeah, Moshe wouldn't say a lie. He couldn't. He's a man of truth. Truth doesn't lie. So it says, אבל באהרון, מתוך שהרודף שלום ונתן שלום בין איש לאשתו, since he was used to give peace between husband and wife, ובין אישה לבעלה, between a woman and her husband, נאמר, כל בית ישראל זכרים ונקבות. When he passed away and Aaron passed away, everybody cried. Both him and the girls. Page 11, source number 6. Let's look at the sources. ויבכו בני ישראל את משה בערבות מואב 30 יום, ויתמו ימי בחבל משה. For Moshe they cried for 30 days. Source number 7. ויראו כל העדה כי גבה אהרון, ויבכו את אהרון 30 יום. כל בית ישראל. All the house of Israel. What's all the house of Israel? These are both the male and the females. בני ישראל, the sons of Israel, הזכרים are the males. עבר באהרון, but for Aaron, מתוך שהיה רודף שלום ונותן שלום בין איש לרעהו ובין אישה לבעלה, נאמר כל בית ישראל זכרים ונקבות. But by Aaron it says all the house of Israel, men and women. And the question comes, you probably never asked yourself, what's the question? Page number 12. עניין זה נאמר ומודגש בפרשה שבה מדובר אודות מעלתו של משה. This is mentioned when we're talking about the greatness of Moshe. Why? לפי שמשה עצמו רצה שהתורה תכתוב ותדגיש עניין זה. Moshe says, I want you to emphasize this point. That what? That Aaron is better than me. I want you, I made a mistake. Moshe over here says, in my entire life was a mistake. I thought that you're not allowed to lie. I was a man of truth. I thought truth is more important than peace. Now I see by Aaron that peace is more important than truth. In marriage, this is when I got married, they told me many times, you can either be true or you can either be correct or you can have peace in your house. You have to choose which one you want. If you want to be correct, there's no peace. If you want peace, you won't be correct. That's it.
Did you tell me once that it's only okay to lie to avoid hurting somebody's feelings?
That's right.
Like if your wife says, how do I look in this dress?
Absolutely. You say wonderful, honey. כדי שבני ישראל ידעו שההנהגה בעניין אהבת ישראל צריכה להיות דוגמת הנגר של אהרון. So in other words, Moshe puts it in the Torah in such a manner, just like by Noach, to teach you, guys, don't behave like me. Behave like whom? Behave like Aaron. And this is what Moshe wrote in the, when did he realize it? On,
Just before he died.
that's right. בסגנון אחר.
He wanted to have the same death of Aaron.
That's right. כאשר מדברים רק אודות שבחו וזכותו של נוח, when we're only talking about and praising נוח, נשאר אצלו עניין של גנאי וחובה. In other words, we're making נוח a negative thing. מה שאין כן כאשר מדברים גם אודות הגנאי והחובה של נוח, when we mention that נוח was not correct in some manners, להיזהר שלא להתנהג, and don't behave this way, just like Moshe talked about himself. I shouldn't have behaved, always say the truth. I thought that the truth is the most important. I realized on my deathbed that it's not, that Aaron was right and I was wrong, that the way Aaron ran the show is more important than the way I ran the show. כך מתקנים את הדבר. This is how you fix the thing. ואז נשאר אצלו רק עניין של שבח וזכות. By telling the negative point of Moshe says, by telling me, putting in the Torah that I had the mistakes, this is a fixing for my mistake. By telling the mistake of Noach, this is a fixing for Noach. Page 13. כאמור לעיל מובא עניין זה גם בפירוש רש"י על התורה. So we're also going to see this in Rashi. יש, when Rashi says, יש מרבותינו דורשים אותו לשבח ויש שדורשים אותו לגנאי. Some say that Noach was a great guy and some say no, he was not such a great guy. דוגמת שני הפירושים של דברי הזוהר לזכותו ולחובתו. Just like the Zohar says, one is a positive, one is a negative. ובזה רואים את הקשר המיוחד שנע בזוהר או פירוש רש"י, שאותו עניין מובא בזוהר מובא גם בפירוש רש"י. Over here we see the greatness of Rashi. Rashi is supposed to give pshat, the simple explanation. But you see that in the simple explanation of Rashi, there's the deepest concept of the Kabbalah. He puts the Zohar in the simple explanation.
Actually, Rashi didn't have to say nothing there.
He had to.
Okay.
Very good. Exactly. But Rashi had to say.
Because he brings Kabbalah.
That's it. Very good. Source number 8. It says, ויהי הגשם על הארץ 40 יום ו40 לילה. There was rain on the land for 40 days and 40 nights. ויהי הגשם על הארץ. It says, and the rain was on the land. ולהלן הוא אומר, ויהיה מבול. Then it says it was a flood. It says, why in the beginning it was rain and then it turns into flood? אלא כשהורידן, הורידם ברחמים. But when the rain came down, it didn't come down as a flood. It came down as rain. שאם יחזרו, יגשמי ברכה. So if the people are going to repent, it's just going to remain rain. They're going to be happy. Now they're going to have a lot of produce this year. וכשלא חזרו, but when the people did not repent, then it turned into a flood. אמר רבי יצחק, it says, where do we see this? בואו ראה, come and see. This is from the Zohar now. כשהוריד הקדוש ברוך הוא המים, הורידם תחילה, you saw the Rashi? Before we read the Rashi. So now it's the Zohar. Now the Zohar. So it says, in the beginning, הורידם תחילה ברחמים. The Zohar says, in the beginning, the rain came down, it was mercy. Why? כדי להראות לעולם שאם ישובו יקבלם, to show the world if they're going to return, is going to receive them. משמע דכתיב בתחילה ויהיה גשם. This is why it says in the beginning, and there was rain. ולהלן הוא אומר ויהיה מבול, and then it says, and there's going to be a flood. שאם יחזרו יהיו גשמי ברכה. If they're going to return to God, it's going to be rains of goodness. לא חזרו היה מבול. But once they didn't go turn back, then there was flood. So the Rebbe says, עניין זה מודגש עוד יותר בפירוש רש"י. See, the same explanation of Kabbalah, Rashi brings. ויהי הגשם הורידם ברחמים שיחזרו גשם ברכה, כי המקור היחיד דברי רש"י הוא בזוהר החדש. It says people don't understand that the only source that it's written is the Zohar. In other words, Rashi is quoting Kabbalah, pure Kabbalah. There's no other source for this, except the Zohar. The Zohar and Rashi here the same thing, it's the same pshat. ומלבד דברי הזוהר לא מצינו זאת בשאר מדרשי חז"ל. The only source to these words can be found in the Zohar. And the Rashi brings the Zohar to a 5-year-old. He explains, because that's the true explanation of the verse. זאת אומרת, שלא כדעת הטועים שפירוש רש"י הוא פשוטו של מקרא בלבד. Some people think that Rashi is just a simple explanation for a 5-year-old. אין לזה שייכות כלל עם חלק הרמז. It says it's got nothing to do with Kabbalah, nothing to do with other things. אלא בפירוש רש"י ישנם גם נפלאות. In the explanation of Rashi, there's the deepest secrets of the Torah. וכי פתגם אדמו"ר הזקן שפירוש רש"י הוא יונה של תורה. Just like the Alter Rebbe tells us that Rashi is the wine of Torah. What do you mean? The secrets of the Torah can all be found within the Rashi. והקשר של רש"י עם כללות חלק הרמז והסוד שבתורה מודגש גם בכמה סיפורים מופתים וכולו. And it says, and you can see this, even Rashi is supposed to be a story of simple, a simple teacher for a 5-year-old. And you can see even the stories about Rashi have these secrets in them. Well, הקשורים עם דברי ימי חייו של רש"י. There's a story about the life of Rashi. ועד לסיפור הידוע שאירע עם אמו של רש"י. There's a famous story, I don't know if you heard it, with Rashi's mother, when she was pregnant with him. The story goes like this. בהיותה מעוברת קודם לידת רש"י, when she was pregnant with Rashi, כשבלכתה פעם ברחוב צר, she walked in a narrow street. This is Europe, probably somewhere in Germany. באה לעומתה מרכבה, so it was a very narrow street, and there was a horse and carriage that ran away. The horse and carriage is running away, it's a narrow street, and they're running, and the carriage is like this. There's no place to run away to the sides, and the horse is running straight at her. ובדרך הטבע לא היה אפשרות שהמרכבה תחלוף והיא והעובר יישארו שלמים. And there was no way according to nature that she can pass by next to her and she's going to be alive. נעשה שקע בקיר בגודל המתאים לאישה מעוברת. There was an indentation in one of the walls exactly in the shape of a pregnant woman. So that, she would fit exactly like Tetris. Like Tetris, exactly in the wall. וכך ניצלו שניהם. And this is how they both were saved. So the Rebbe says, קדושת מורי וחמי אדמו"ר סיפור, says the Friedeker Rebbe told me, he says, שבהיותו בעיר ורמיזה, when he went to the city of ורמיזה, ראה את השקע בקיר שדותיו מקובל סיפור הנ"ל. He went to see that street, and that indentation is still until today in that wall, and it says, and I saw it over there. And it says, and the story is told not by us, the story is told by the Goyim, by the other people, not by the Jews, by the nations. They tell the story. It says, because it was such a miracle that there was no indentation before, all of a sudden there's an indentation in the wall after this happening. ההוראה מדברי הזוהר בנוגע לעבודת האדם. So the question is, everything we learn today is nice, but how do we have to behave? What can we take with it? What's the message for us? Page 15. יהודי צריך לדעת שככל שתהיה עבודתו באופן נעלה, a Jew needs to do, it doesn't matter how great your service of God is, אין לו להסתפק במעמדו ומצבו בהווה. It's not enough to be satisfied with the way you serve God right now. אלא עליו להוסיף ולהתעלות לדרגה נעלת יותר. A person has to go up to a higher level ביודעו שמעמדו ומצבו בהווה נחשב לעניין של גנאי. He has to know that right now somebody is looking at him and your behavior right now is like Rabbi Yitzchak says, you could do better. He looks at Noach and he says, Noach, you should have done better. You, us, I've done this, I've done that, I moved so much. You should know to yourself, I can do better. ביחס לדרגה נעלית יותר. This is not even a level according to where the level I should be. According to the level I should be better. ולכן כאשר יודע ומרגיש גנאי זה, in other words, when you feel that your behavior, it doesn't matter which level you are, has a negative connotation, even Moshe Rabbeinu felt that his behavior has a negative connotation that everybody should learn from me, so how much more we should feel that our behavior has a negative connotation. להגיע לנגיע, because that would bring us to a higher level. מה שאין כן אם יחשוב רק אודות השבח, but if a person is only going to think about how good I am, like today's kids, they tell the teachers, only say good about the kids, only make sure that no matter what he does, you're the greatest, we love you, you can't go wrong. It says, this is how you grow up. That you support BDS and you support Hamas, and you say Palestine is right. שבעמדו ומצבו בהווה יישאר בדרגה זו בלבד. That's the level you're going to get to, the level you are. שהיא בחינת גנאי לגבי הדרגה שלא מכהן. This is disgusting, considering the level that you can reach. ולדוגמה, let's take an example. בלימוד התורה, when one's learn Torah, גם כאשר למד עניין מסוים 100 פעמים, even if you learn something 100 times, ויתרה מזו 100 פעמים ואחד, even if you learn 101 times, ואם כן תוגען הוא הגיע כבר עד שלמות של לימוד התורה, it says, what more can I do? I learned 101 times. אף על פי כן אומרים לו, nevertheless, we say to him, שעליו להוסיף בזה ולהתעלות את דרגה נעלית יותר. We have to tell him, this is גנאי. I don't care how many times you've learned. This is not good, you should do better. Come more. והדרך זה מובנת ההוראה בנוגע להתעסקות והשפעה לזולת. And also when we come and we try to influence other people, היינו שאין להסתפק בעבודתו בנוגע לעצמו, it's not enough to work on yourself, אלא צריכים להשתדל ולהשפיע ולפעול גם על הזולת. One has to make sure that a neighbor, a friend, is also going to come closer to God, until one is going to influence the entire world.
You're telling me that Avraham Avinu. I'm looking at the concept. The concept is Noach was supposed to ask God. Now God is going to tell him, listen, I'm going to believe Noach.
100%.
Twice, 3 times. Avraham, I don't care how many times.
100%.
He should have asked like Avraham.
You're right?
As Avraham didn't say 6 times, he said 10 times. מה זה חשוב? אבל הוא asked.
Yeah, at least he tried a little
This
bit.
guy did not even ask. Hashem, he didn't. צדיק בפרווה.
Yeah, but Aryeh, it's not so. I can show you. I can show you his reasoning. You want to hear the reasoning? Shenoch? Yeah. God comes to you now, and God tells you, Aryeh, the Hamas, I'm going to destroy.
The Hamas.
I'm going to destroy. And Aryeh says, why you don't daven for them? But this is the way Noach looked at them. So there's also another way to look at it. This is what Rabbi Yehuda says.
עכשיו אם השם בא אליך, אומר לך, משה, אתה רוצה שכל החמאס אני עכשיו משמיד אותם. מה תגיד לו? אז אתה כמו נוח.
So you can't blame. So you can't blame Noach. Yeah, this is what Rav Yehuda. Yeah, this is what Rav Yehuda says. Rav Yehuda says, this is Noach. What do you want him? If Noach would ask for mercy for them, God would be even more crazy. He says, you want to protect these animals? Yeah, exactly. Of course he's not going to ask. That's what Rav Yehuda says. Rav Yehuda talks nicely about him. Rav Yitzchak, he's the problem. Okay?